Initiate startup process.
Now, all the way live.
Hey, yo, y'all know what this is.
Jamming the most hip-hop and R&B.
I want to introduce to y'all
Infamous.
Call your friends and tell them it's going down now.
It's going down.
You understand that?
Amadeuz is live.
Let's go.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Inphamus Hour live, Facebook.com/BoomBapNation. And shout out to all the listeners of SiriusXM Shade 45 every single Thursday, noon EST for the new Boom Bap Classics and 3 p.m. for the Throwbacks. Left Lane Music, Cruise Control activated. And of course, shout out to our sponsor, 97 Piff, the first ever can of butter, infused with haze and hydro. So if you're one of them people here that, like to have an adult treat, this is the product for you. Now, here at the Inphamus Hour, we have done a great job of bringing our legendary pioneers of hip-hop from Cool G Rap to Onyx. We had some amazing guests this year, but recently I got the chance to connect and meet with the young brother who doesn't age. I mean, he's been active since the 80s, probably the 70s. We're going to talk some dope hip-hop stuff. Cool DJ Red Alert, welcome to the Inphamus Hour.
Hey, what's going on, boss? What's the deal?
Oh, man, how's everything? And shout out to my co-host, Tone Viera, who just hopped in the room. We just started. So I got a chance to actually connect with you in Atlanta. You were DJing in Atlanta, killing it, by the way. And you told me, I had asked you if you wanted a drink. I've been sober for like 2-3 years. So, cheers to that. Usually I drink during this, but I got water this time, okay? So,
okay.
I'm saying, but... How is it adjusting to being sober in this type of like radio lifestyle, right? For me, I struggle. Like I went to an event yesterday for Conway the Machine, dope event, but it's like when I'm in the environment, it's like I feel like, one drink. Then it's like, that leads to 2 drinks. The next thing you know, you're 17 drinks in, right? So what made you decide, like, you know what, I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to indulge in anything, especially being in the nightlife and being, one of the greatest DJs of all time.
Well, one thing I got to say, I got to blame COVID.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why I blame COVID, because usually when I drink is when I'm going out, being sociable, or doing gigs. When this COVID came in, it slowed everything down. Yeah. So, you're at home. I'm not a person that drink at home. And then, you closed up for a little while, and you just keep going and going and going. Then, you be like, I feel a little different. But I'm not realizing that because I haven't touched a drink. So after a couple of weeks, I mean, like, the wife was saying, been a while you haven't been drinking since you've been home. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Then I start thinking about it. I said, maybe that's what it is. Because, you're so much into your regular drill where you're going out being sociable, partying and everything. But now I'm not around that. So I said, let me see how far I can go. And it just kept going on for a month, to another month, to another month. Because, at one point when I was doing, as I still continue doing the show on WBLS up here in the city, I always go to work. But I was doing pre-recording because, everything was closed down due to the COVID.
Yeah.
So I didn't come to work until around June because I was being sponsored by the AARP. I'm a fan of that. And I just kept going, man. And then when I finally took a challenge that I started going to a fair, I think it was DJing. And I said, you know what? Let me see if I can test myself. And I felt like I didn't have to do it up.
Wow. Round of applause. Cool DJ. Red Alert.
No.
Sober.
Besides that, I had a run. I had a hell of a run with that. So I'm good.
Of course. Tone, welcome to the show. Late, but still here.
Hey, I'm here, man. Look, I couldn't miss the opportunity not to talk to cool DJ Red Alert. Hey, good talking to you again, Red Alert. Let me tell you, when you're in a Zoom meeting or when you're around people at an event, people just have this deep reverence for you. You ever get tired of that?
Let me tell you something. It could be a point where you don't have to be thought about. So every time when people come to me face to face, Zoom, whatever it is, it's an honor. It's an honor because you're being acknowledged, and it's only right to acknowledge them in return. That's it.
Yeah, super dope. So, I mean, you've been around for a long time. You've seen many different phases of hip hop culture,
Yes.
and as one of the pioneers, I want to get your take on like the current state of hip hop, especially music in New York. Because when I hear a young artist in New York, and the listeners of the Inphamus Hour hear me say this a lot, I was like, I kind of feel like I'm not in New York. I kind of feel like people are identifying with different sounds and maybe different towns. But as the OG, are you receptive to this type of thing, or are you like, you know what, maybe hip hop has regressed a little bit? Just your opinion on that.
Tell you, I have mixed.
Okay.
When I say mixed, because number one, you have to learn to continue to evolve. You just can't stay standing with the same old as time go by. As long as they learn how to keep on creating, developing, presenting, or in the aspect as far as the sounds of hip hop, you take your own choice of what you feel is right. If it's not right, you pass it up. And now I'm not going to say everything sound bad. I'm not going to say everything sound good. But when I also mean on the other side of mix is that I feel there have been a lack of creativity where they're not learning how to take and push the envelope to another level. Because that's what everybody from before them was doing. Every time that you heard an artist or you heard a sound, that producer or that artist is trying to see what's the next level I can make that happen. I think it had been at some degree a stopping point. Now, as far as the real culture of hip-hop sound, it's still there. It's just that we not more involved so much of him, the commercialism of hip-hop. So that is what I feel is like kind of stagnated. Not all, but some.
Yeah.
The real hip-hop still remains, but it's underground.
Do you think that has to do with technology? Maybe because people have access to now this technology. Before you would have to go to the studio and you would have to spend, $gazillion to record a project. Now you can just get a laptop, get a little machine, and sound like T-Pain or sound like I have my a 7-year-old nephew, right? And he records on his phone. Right, so he doesn't even have to go to the studio. Like, he literally records to the phone, and it comes out almost like a mix and master, like for their standard. So, is technology kind of to blame? People having access to it?
No, I can't change the blame. Why? Because before all these other things, such as keyboards and synthesizers, I'm just using them as an example. There was regular instruments, or there was a band that was going ahead and conduct the sounds for an artist to go and perform over. Because even in the beginning of making hip-hop songs, there was a band that was constructing, and the artists would come in and rhyme over it. And then here come in place around in the 80s, here come the drum machines, here come the synthesizers, the keyboards and everything. So that come to another level. To within later on, here come within what we have today, the digital world, what you just said earlier, and you can still conform and produce well on it. But I think that people is getting a little cheesy on themselves, my opinion, and they not learning how to go full-fledged with this, producing as well as rhyming, and some of them. I don't know. Some of them I can't even understand what they say. Honestly, some of them, not all, some.
Can't blame you there, Red Alert. So Red Alert, your knowledge on music is so extensive. Not only are you a DJ, you're also a producer. You're a talent manager. Can you talk about the other roles you play in this industry?
At one point in time, a lot of people know that I was a part of a couple of groups. Well, everybody know I come from the almighty universal Zulu Nation, where it was a collective of all of us, as far as DJs and MCs are concerned. But when I started branching off and I started DJing for different artists, first artist I started DJing when I branched off was a young lady by the name of Sparky D. That's during the Roxanne era. From there, then I got in conjunction with Boogie Down Production, rest in peace, my man Scott LaRock. So I was involved with that. Meanwhile, all this, I'm going from Sparky to Boogie Down Production, then started having great relationships with people like Mark the 45 King and a couple others besides that. Now here it is, I have artists for the first time under me, and that is the Jungle Brothers. With the Jungle Brothers, it chained along with other different groups that I had affiliations with. Tribe Called Quest, Queen Latifah, De La Soul. Later on, here come Moni Love. Later on, here come Black Sheep. Whereas, I took it upon myself to form a production company, a production management company, put it like that. And it's not by me producing a production company that I'm the executive producers getting artists to get signed to have someone on the label. So that's the business form. Meanwhile, while I'm doing all this, I'm still dabbling in what I'm doing on radio. So, I had to pull away, and a lot of people thought I was crazy pulling away from my management and production company, but it was a conflict of interest because you can't be involved with communication and have that because it's a conflict. So I want to continue that. And who is it that picked it up after I have my production company? Rest in peace, my man, Chris Lighty.
Chris Lighty, Violator's own. Rest in peace. Yes. So on that note, in hip hop in 2022, you feel like we don't have enough like collective movement. For example, like Native Tongues, obviously, right? So this is like a movement that you're involved with at one point. So do we still have this or a lack of this? It kind of gave like a sense of unity where you have like different collaboration artists who would have like their own thing. For example, like De La Soul, Jungle Brothers. They're kind of all just under this one umbrella, so to say. Are we missing this in hip hop? And how do we kind of restore this type of unity?
I think that it's still around. It's just been as a hidden agenda because everything else is so much in the forefront. There is so many great artists, great wherever they are in the culture of hip hop that being overlooked. Because when you have in the digital world we in presentation that's so high standard that you see that person or that group or that entity of what they doing. It overshadows the people who you're looking for. So I think that these artists who you, as well as producers and many others, they around, they just cannot be acknowledged because they're getting overshadowed, or they may have lack of knowing how to promote yourself, how to push the envelope and take it to the next level. There's somebody across this country as well as around the world that be like, oh, that's the one, but we don't know about them.
Red alert. I was remembering before COVID, there was this huge concert in Trenton. The lineup was Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, Chubb Rock, Roxanne Shante was hosting, and you were on the lineup as well. You were DJing, and I remember at the time I was working as media. I was taking pictures, and I was looking through my old camera roll, and I saw a couple pictures of you there. I got to be honest, I took some pretty good pictures of you, and the first thought I had now is like, maybe this needs to be an NFT. Have you jumped into the NFT game yet?
My youngest son, I don't know, you heard about him. He go by the name of G Mims. G Mims is my youngest son, the youngest actually, and he the one that helped set up and form NFT under my behalf as well as for himself.
It's awesome. So we should be looking forward to some collections from you.
STFM. Stay tuned for more.
Stay tuned for more. Cool DJ Red Alert to the future. You're watching Inphamus Hour right now. If you're in the chat, we are scanning the chat. We have DJ Red Alert in the building for the citizens of Boom Bap Nation now. When you had your Red Alert production team, this was kind of like like an alternative to some of the bigger companies that were out there. Obviously, Cold Chillin' had a management division. But what set your production company different from like them or like Russell Simmons or some of the other heavy fasters that were competing at the time?
When I had formed Red Alert Production, I was having the next wave that was coming to the forefront as far as the culture concerned. And the key is native tongue. It was something that was new, edgy, exciting, and grasping everybody. So, when you see all the artists I just mentioned, De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Jungle Brothers. Mind you, De La Soul was not under my management, but they was affiliation. but Black Sheep, Moni Love, and various others. Everybody had all eyes on them. So I'm bringing something as a new flair to amongst everybody. Of course, at the same time, getting my feet wet, getting into the management company. And I see that I am also in competition. Because anything you do, you are being in competition.
Yeah, it's always competition.
It's always established. So they watching every move I'm doing and such and such. But I got to find out something that I did not know before. Here it is, by me being on the one side of communication, which is radio, I'm taking time spinning all this music. Now I'm stepping behind the scenes of what is that goes on, how to shake and move and make everything happen for the artist. And now you're saying that you facing something that you didn't have no idea about. And babysitting is something else.
Yeah, babysitting.
That's what I can tell you. So that's where I saw that, now that going on, but then you see the as far as other different management companies is trying to see what they can do to edge their team in the forefront ahead of you. I'm just new into this field. As to them, they already established. But what I have is fresh, new to society compared to what they already had in standing. So it's a give and take of what I have to deal with. And you understand what I mean, fresh and new as far as native tongue concerned.
Yeah, because it was a new collective.
Right. And the artists that the managements have, they standing, but they were stars too. I had something edgy, brand new to the public. But they would have more experience of management than I had as I'm getting my feet wet.
Yeah.
Yo, All-Star game coming up and this weekend. Now I gotta be honest, Red Alert, like most people when they mention you, they remember listening to you on the radio as they were kids. But I remember you from this tape. It was a tape that you hosted. It was a NBA Jams, I believe it was called. You were like hosting highlight basketball videos for all the guys on the Dream Team.
Yes.
That was my introduction to you. And I'm going to tell you, I watched this tape so many times. So you are a big part of my childhood. I used to watch this video. I remember you were introducing videos from Larry Johnson, Sean Kemp. This was like, even before I started listening to like rap music, I used to watch this video like heavy. So at one point you had a strong relationship with the NBA because you were in that video. You still maintain any sort of relationship with them?
Well, a lot of people did not know that was my love before I became a DJ. I was playing ball. I played high school ball and did a year and a half in college, but and I played organized ball. I'm from Harlem. Up in Harlem, that's all we do. We ball, It's more than just shoot them up, bang, bang, sell drugs. We play ball, And that was my love. So, and then being under the behalf of my brother just passed away. He was one of the first members under my man, Mr. Homebill Rucker, that carried the legacy of the record tournament. So imagine me being under my brother and watching all the stars at that time, the Dr. J's and the Tanya Boys and all that. So I caught the bug and I started playing ball. But I always kept myself near to the game. Meanwhile, I built a relation with several people that work for the NBA. And that's how I got that deal of doing the Superstar 3 tape. That's what it's called, Superstar 3.
Yes.
And I had a ball with that. And to this day, I still have great relations with various people behind the scenes as well as who is athletes.
Yeah. Red, back to the production company for a bit, because when I talk to some of the legacy artists, the quote-unquote legacy artists during these interviews, they always kind of mention to me how, like, record deals were designed like it was like a 3-album deal, and then, like, the label would, like, purposely make sure that your third album flopped to make sure that you wouldn't be able to get your second advance that was coming, right? And you obviously brokered a deal for the Jungle Brothers. Was this good business practices on the label, or would you say bad business practice on the artist by not reading their contracts? Because obviously we all come from like low poverty situations, so we're just looking at the dollar amount, right? We're not looking at the long-term game of like owning your masters and owning your recordings and making sure that you get the proper point. So whose fault is this kind of for some of these deals that were structured?
It comes from both sides. The reason I say it comes from both sides as far as the audience as well, the management, that you got to learn how to watch every move that's being taken place. To me, the entertainment business is like the streets. You got to learn how the hustle coming in on you.
Talk about
So,
it.
they don't get over. There's some in between, some loopholes that they'll try to see how they slither their way to get the best of what they want after they sign you. But at the same time, if you on the up and on the game, just like in the streets, you learn how to keep riding along without having a bumpy road.
Yeah, it's almost like legal street hustle, but also find like in that sense where like a lot of, like for myself, like when I first became a DJ and I got the Sirius XM, I was kind of like, okay, like, I'm dealing with people who were from the streets, but you quickly realize that they're not, right? It's like once they get these corporate titles, it's like you have to learn how to almost like separate yourself, right? Is that also a fair assessment?
Oh, yeah, because, some of the most successful people that's in business come from the streets.
Come from the streets, yeah.
And if you know how to manage yourself as a businessman in the streets illegally, you know how to turn that same operation into legal matter. It's just that you still have the same tactics of how to approach it, and you learn the loopholes, the flaws, the ins and outs to make it better for within yourself or whatever the product that they have. Now, what you was asking about when it comes to like sign the artist or sign a group, and by the time you get to like the second and third, that they try to find to break you down, yes, you can get caught out there like that unless you're aware that you took a jump start to knowledge what's about to happen before they make it happen. So that's what it is. And that's what the same thing like the streets. If you go hustle or be hustle.
Major key alert, tone.
Yeah, man. So a while back, you mentioned Native Tongue, Tribe Called Quest. They recently received a huge nomination to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I was looking at the votes recently in the poll. They're in the bottom half of it, and they're doing it on a vote-based system. So if you were to plead a case for them, what would you tell people as to why they need to vote for a Tribe Called Quest? Why their legacy needs to be cemented in that Hall of Fame?
I can speak on a bias. Nah, honestly, out of the whole entire Native Tongue, the Tribe Called Quest have pushed the envelope so strong, not just behind management, but within the group itself. They're artistic. They were very creative. They learned how to deliver. They made the sounds. I mean, there was at one point in time all across the board. They used to always say, well, they're going to play some Tribe. Let me hear some of that Tribe. Yo, what's up with that Tribe? The name was buzzing. I mean, they was like in the street trending, like on Twitter. They was trending in the streets. That's all it was about Tribe. And they went to all different nationalities across the board. No matter what certain that, everybody across the board was embracing and enjoying Tribe throughout the times of the 90s. Wow. So I feel that they deserve it. I'm happy and proud of them. I hope the numbers go up, man, And keep in mind, just because you saw they was during their prime, that doesn't mean that they over, rest in peace, Five Dog, but their sound remains. As we see in today's time, there is some music, sad to say, that don't have no legs, don't have no consistency, You can play Tribe at any given time and they keep going. So, give them theirs. That's what it is. Vote for them, everybody.
Yeah. If you could pick an artist or a group who may have been snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or someone who is not on their radar, who would it be and why?
Man, it's quite a few of them that deserve it. I am so happy that LL finally got it. I don't know why it took so long, but I'm glad he got it. But there are many other people at the same time as him or even a little after him. Like, I could see Kane, Big Daddy Kane, I could look at him I could look at the R, you know. Everybody know the guard was down the same time. You know, there's quite a few of them. You know, Salt and Pepper I could see that they came out like around mid 80s. You know, I Take Your Man, you know. I mean, there's certain artists and groups, male and female, that deserve just as much. A good collection.
Yeah. And you know, recently I've been really learning and understanding the legacy of Jay Dilla. He's somebody who left an everlasting impression in production and in the music industry as well. And hearing people talk about him recently because we just celebrated his passing and his birthday.
Yes.
Did you ever have a chance to work with him, or did you ever wish to work with him? Were you guys ever in talks of doing something together?
I never had a chance to work with Jay Dilla, but I have acknowledged a great amount of deal of his work, which I have, of course, spent a lot of his work. You know, he gave me some good ammunition to be in the field, as I always say. He deserved, you know, in existence, he deserved, because he brought a lot to the table. He helped change the sounds over the period of time, you know, and he may not be here to receive it, but let Rip and his family members see that he been acknowledged and give him his.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you acknowledge Jay Dilla. Check out that new book, Dilla Time. Red Alert here in the Inphamus Hour. We have a top 5 segment. I've been asking people top 5 this, top 5 that. So for you, the OG of OGs, top 5 hip-hop albums of all time. Go.
Ooh, man, you're shooting me in the heart. Oh, this has been, oh, man. And it's going to be in my mind based upon my prime era, because that's what I always favored.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying who 1 and 2 is, but between Every and Rakim first album,
okay,
and Boogie Down Production first album. You know, Paid in Full and Criminal Minded. The next album, Public Enemy second album, Taking Nation of Me. The Whole is Back. Yeah, I mean that. Woo! Another one, and it may sound biased, but to me, it was so creative. It went over everybody's head. But I heard a lot of people dissect that album to get into their own sound. And that was Jungle Brother's second album, done by the Forces of Nature. You know? Who else I could think of? And I have to give them a lot of respect, because they pushed the envelope and they brought something different. And you know what? I respect it to the fullest. It's NWA album, their first one.
Their first one.
Yeah,
Got one more.
Yeah. Another album that come out from the West Coast, even though my man originally from Texas, but he made his bones out there, the DOC.
The DOC.
First album.
The DOC.
That album, that joint, woo! Damn.
Red Alert top 5 hip-hop albums of all time.
That was a great list. That DOC album, Grandmaster Caz himself said that album is slept on. He said he owns that album in any format that exists, like the 45, the tape, the CD, the whatever. He says it's one of those things that he just listened to from front to back.
Man.
Yeah. Man. I tell you, you know, this reminds me of the time when we were recording for Rock the Bells and I had you record like a Furious 5 list. You got the same way. You're like, I got to list my 5 favorite songs right now. Oh, man. But you were a good sport about it. You mentioned NWA. Now, you obviously, I know you had a chance to check out the halftime show. What did you think of that?
I'm honored. I'm blessed. I'm excited. I'm proud that hip-hop had evolved in front of the massive audience, because once upon a time, they did not want to touch one hip-hop artist, one hip-hop song. Yes, we had hip-hop artists that was in halftime of the NFL. I think, who was it, Travis Scott?
I'm not sure. I kind of think they shut it down like after the Janet Jackson situation.
No, I thought Travis Scott was on one time.
I don't think he did it. No, this is the first one. This is like the first one. Maybe he did the NBA.
Okay, I could be wrong. No? But they see it connected, and it was the Dr. Dre show, because everything on the production except for Kendrick. But everything else, because that joint that Mary did, Dre produced. You know, of course, Snoop, everybody know that. and 50. Nobody expected to see 50 come upside down, No, I mean, it was great. It was great. I was very, very proud of the whole situation.
Yeah. As I'm watching the halftime show and I'm looking at Snoop Crit walking, I said to myself at that moment, like, I didn't know if that was a great idea, right? Because hip hop now has such a bad stigma when it comes to violence, right? And as you were doing your top 5 list, your top 5 list was based on your era. Now, my era was the 90s, right? So, my high school days were the 90s. This is Mobb Deep. This is Nas. This is Terror Squad. This is early Jay-Z. But do you think that the 90s era steered hip hop the wrong way? Because we went from like a message that was about positivity in a sense, more about unification, right? With NWA, Public Enemy, Tribe, Dilla, Poor Righteous Teachers. And then we got this whole wave of gangster rap, quote unquote. And then it kind of felt like hip hop changed. So do you think that era may have been detrimental to the culture?
I would say that as far as your creativity has sharpened up more, and then it came into the 90s compared to the 80s.
Yeah.
But the 80s had a variety of everything, because if you're thinking about some gangsterism in a sense, then you have during my era, like Eric B. Rakim to some degree, Boogie Down Production to some degree, Cool G Rap, Just Ice, Ice-T, King T, I'm just naming a few.
Yeah.
But then again, on the happy side, you got Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince, and various others similar to him. On the militant side, here come Public Enemy. Here come X-Clan. It seemed like when time we got into the 90s, it's got become what may he rest in peace, Andre Herrera had called Ghetto Fabulous. Now here it is, you got Diddy presenting a whole new thing with the flair and the style, the money. Here come Rockefeller, but at the same time, you have the gritty and grimy with Daz effects. You have Lords in the Underground, and just giving an example. But still, down south, they had a whole different style that was rising. Outkast, Goody Mob, other different artists from different spectrums of the South, So it was a collective that was coming more harder than it was in the 80s. And yes, you say that it's coming more from like the quote unquote street element, but that goes according to society itself, because things that start becoming present. You can't blame hip hop according to the life of society has changed over the years.
In general.
Everything was so much in the opening, so much in the forefront, so much liberal that they go to be as they are. And not only that, you don't have people that take time to groom them how they should be. They're going to come as it is.
That's right.
That was a great answer, Tone.
Yeah, for real. I feel like you might have answered my next question within that. But recently, violence has become a big headline, especially in New York. You got the mayor of New York stepping in. You got to have you have Mano, Fabio Foreign sitting down with the mayor. What do you think needs to be said in this dialogue between these artists and the government, and what could be something that could be said within that conversation that could just soften the whole situation and kind of like make everything right?
What it is that the mayor is looking at, the new mayor, Mr. Eric Adams, is trying to see how he can cease and calm everything down, because he just came right in on it after the past couple of years have been going on behind other situations with the Black Lives Matter. Meanwhile, the artists that you mentioned, a few of them that you mentioned, they do have a voice in the streets. Now, the separation, which is not that far apart, but it is to some people's mind, they looking at people who you just mentioned as quote unquote in the streets, the OGs. So now it's got, how can we get to tame the people that's younger than them to understand, listen here, we got to we know what you're about, we know where you come from, you probably look up to us to some degree of what we've been doing, but now we got to refine ourselves and we got to learn how to respect this mayor that came in so we can all be on equal terms. So that's what it is. That's the conversation I hope they're getting going on back and forth. Not one-sided, but, face to face, open up, reason with each other, and see where it become after that.
Yeah. As someone that's been in radio for 45 years, obviously music is being consumed different now, right? So people, it's more direct to consumer. You kind of turn on your phone, you listen to Spotify, iTunes. What do you think is the future of radio in general, like terrestrial radio in particular, like the FM dial, AM dial? Like what do you think the place of terrestrial radio is in 2022 and beyond?
That question was asked about approximately 20 years ago when we came in the year 2000. I think we are getting the answer as you asking that question, we have been getting the answer all along. Because if I got that question back in 2000, when 2000 came, we're in 2022, it's still around. So it may in some ways give you an answer right there that there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
Regardless, yes, we've been around. We know that you the next, you the latest, you the what. But guess what? We're not in your way. Hey, and vice versa. We all have a platform. Let's go forth and do what we do.
Yeah, Jesus.
That's the same thing I feel like this. Me as a DJ for a long period of time. I DJ with a lot of the young DJs. They go and look up to me to some degree, and respect me. And then there's some of them with an undertone that feel like, okay, your time is up. You need to get out the way. I'm not in your way. I was never in nobody's way. So that's the same thing I feel about regular radio compared to all other outlets of communication. It's not in their way.
Yeah, it's kind of like in its own a pivotal point. And, you've been in some pivotal points as well. Like, obviously, you were there when MS Communications purchased Kiss FM, obviously. And I kind of feel like you were like the starting point for Power 105 to take over. I mean, you crossing over, then obviously the Nas and Jay-Z situation. Is there room for another, like, new, innovative radio station that hip-hop consumers can consume, in a sense, right? Because we kind of have, we got Hot 9, we got Power, you're over at 107.5, correct? So that's like, it's urban as well. But is there room for like another station to kind of come in and bring like some of this new ideology in to the communications world of radio?
Well, I know at one point in time they had 103.9 that came in. I don't know what happened with that. And now they got the latest station that is 104.7 The Block. I don't know what's going on with that either. Yes, they are quote unquote competitors in the tri-state market. But one thing I have learned over the period of time, even when I was at Kiss FM and our rival was BLS. Yes, you're supposed to pay attention to your rival, but I was paying more attention upon myself. Because you want to make sure you're staying on top of your game. You can't, if you pay attention on your rival, you losing focus what the hell you supposed to be doing. So I don't know what's going on with the new station that's here in this market right now. But competition is good because it keeps you on your toes at the same time.
Red Alert, I used to get a little offended when people used to say, hey, radio's dead. I'd be like, what? This is what I'm doing for a career. How are you going to insult me like that? But I've learned in the past few years what's become really popular is 90s throwback radio stations all around the nation. These are flourishing, and these are doing extremely well in all different markets outside of New York. Do you feel like that's kind of a direction that a lot of radio station entities are going to start taking moving forward, just to focus on the 90s and that throwback era?
Well, remember what I just said a minute ago, that yes, the 90s have raised the creativity and the sound along with the artists compared to the 80s. And when you got into the year 2000 and up, yes, you're hearing all the sounds that came out. Some good sounds come from 2000 on up to today. But it's something about that 90s that you still feel dear to yourself, that you can't let go. So you shouldn't, if you're going to go ahead and capture the majority of the audience, and you got to learn to balance a little bit of the past and the present. Let it gel. Yes, I know in radio they go after a certain demographic. I talk about the age difference for some people who don't understand when I say demographic. And they want to target at that because we know we're still involved with business. how they can go attached to advertisement. Still in all, I feel you can try and grab a little bit of everybody because you got some songs outstanding that may go as far back into the 70s that you may play it before I let go. You know, and to the 80s, I want to thank you. I'm just saying that example. Rappers of Light, a short version of Rappers of Light that is timeless, you know. The Show by Dougie Fresh, that came out of 85. But at the same time, if I'm going to move up later on and play a popular Kendrick Lamar, you're learning how to bridge the sound. A little, and right along in between is the 90s. So you give a little bit of everything. You got a full-fledged station that generates you a little bit of everybody.
The art of DJing has changed a lot, obviously, with you know, the way the technology is. DJs have access to a lot more equipment, a lot more knowledge, obviously, with the way computers are. But like, how do you feel about like the less technical DJ in a sense, right? Because you come from the era where it's like vinyl, it's like, you know, it's like real skill set. How do you feel about like the quote unquote less technical DJ? And what advice would you have for a young DJ watching this right now that may want to get into radio on how they can harness their skill set and maximize it to its full potential?
Well, there's something that I know a lot of people overlook and I feel is the right thing to do. Anything that you get ready to get to be a part of, do your homework and study the history of where it started. What did it take for it to become what it is later on in life? You know? Put it this way. We in technology, we on Zoom right now.
Yeah.
As we back and forth. We didn't expect to be in this type of livelihood at this time.
No.
You know? But we are enhancing it. We are working it. As in the past, in order for me to go make contact with anybody as far as friend or family member, I had to go to a pay booth to make a call. We all got cells. Meanwhile, you guys still keep in your mind the strategy of the basics of what it is used for. Now, the reason I say all that lead to within the technology of what DJs use today. Yes, do your homework and study what it took for us, and even before us, what it took with, because if you allow you let the technology control you instead of you control the technology, what use is it that you have for yourself? Don't press buttons and make sure everything turns right. You the same way you put some skills into the turntables, learn how to put some skills into the technology. And you will appreciate it even more. Not only within yourself, but the people who appreciate that you understand how to work it, how to play it, and how to present it.
Oh, no doubt. Round of applause for that. I like that. Has Masterclass approached you yet about teaching a class on DJing?
No. And I know what? Quite a few people have asked me many a time. And I always say to myself, do I have the patience to do that? And I'm not being selfish. It's just that, you know, people always want to tell you what you should do, but you got to tell yourself, do you think you're capable to do it? So I never thought about being capable to teach. I can explain it as best as I can, but I may not know how to conduct a teacher you or how to go about doing it.
Didn't you do something one time? It was like an energy drink, right? Was it like Monster or like Red Bull? Like, did you do something?
No, I didn't do none of that.
One time, I think I saw it somewhere. I don't know, maybe it was like a commercial or whatever, but we'll talk about it another time. So
I know one time. I know way back in like around late 80s into 90s, there was a brew called St. Ives.
Oh, the legendary St. Ives.
Yeah, and they was from out west, and they connected with me over on the east, and I always had that commercial, and they was supplying me all kind of stuff. Heavy, you know. And I don't even drink beer. I don't drink it.
No. So what was your drink of choice when you were indulging in DJ activities socially?
Rum.
Rum.
First, I used to drink when I was in the club, the Latin Quarters, the rum punch.
Rum punch.
And then it was like Bacardi and Coke. You know, that's the traditional,
the classic.
And then here it is. My mother, rest in peace, she the one that put me on to this rum called Myers rum.
Myers.
And then I started drinking that first with Coke. I ain't like it. Then I tried with cranberry juice. I liked it. And then my main people. I know you heard the group called the Violators.
Of
One
course.
of the members of Violators say try pineapple juice. So I tried to read that and she went on from there. And then one of the other members of the Violators gave it a nickname to the drink called the poo-poo juice.
The poo-poo juice?
No more now.
Nah, no more now. And, you know, you mentioned Latin Quarters, and I kind of feel like, obviously, Roxy's. We hear about Roxy's, like the legendary club where a lot of, like, hip-hop stuff went down. And, you know, we have SOBs now, obviously, in New York, but there is a lack of these type of venues, right? Because at one time, you had this spot, you had the Tunnel, you had, you know, here and there. You know, would an additional venue or two in the New York City area help kind of revive the entire culture of hip hop, right? Because it's only really about like rapping, DJing, and producing, but the other elements have kind of vanished in a sense when it comes to like how you look at it in a commercial aspect in 2022.
Well, you know, I got to give a lot of credit to my mayor, Tony Touch, because he have this thing they've been doing for years called Toka Tuesdays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he had at different locations. And, you know, you saw the members of the hip hop culture bracing each other together and coming to all his events, you know, where not only just it's the music, but, you know, you've seen all the activities of the dancing, how people articulate to each other. You know, the culture stands for so many different aspects under that name, you know. So, I mean, culture is not about music. It's about the lifestyle. And that's where it was for being at Tony Touch events. And there's probably a couple other events that probably still going to this day that we don't know about. But once again, same thing I'm saying about music. It's the hidden agenda that you get a collected set of people that come and embrace each other and let it go.
Red Alert, kicking game, tone.
No, man. I've been get put on to game about this hip hop alliance that got started by Curtis Blow. How do you feel about the hip hop alliance and what it's doing for upcoming artists and artists who've in the past haven't had you know, great deals, quote unquote?
Hey, big up to my man, my brother Curtis Blow, and I'm happy that, you know, within him and several others, you know, raised them up the right way, because just because you got scorned, that doesn't mean that the next set that's coming along can get scorned. You know, you learn from being scorned so you can help protect them to know how they step in. Because it's a business. It's the music business. But, you know, you still learn to keep your craft going, sharpen your craft, but take time to understand what you're getting involved as far as business is concerned.
Yeah, for sure. A Red Alert, the audience that will be watching us when they see this, as they're watching this video, is the demographic that grew up on Red Alert and the type of content that we're talking about. And you're celebrating 45 years of radio. I mean, this is an amazing...
No. I couldn't say 45 years of DJing.
So
going on 39 of radio.
So 39 years of radio, 45 years of DJing. You've seen many different facets and elements of hip hop. You being a dope promo run, Drink Champs, radio stations nationwide. What message would you have to your loyal followers who've been following you for this amount of time? You know, just talk directly to the consumer.
Well, first, I say thank you. Thank you for embracing me, for the length of time that you believe in everything I've been doing, I've been presenting, and, you know, you enjoying my body of work. What I'm saying is this. If you believe in the culture or anything similar to it, hold on to it, because we don't want it to fade away. We don't want it to, like, be forgotten or go in somebody else's lap and they're going to change the narrative that you may have people down the road believing that's the way it was. No. Keep that going. And that's what I feel that's need to be doing.
Oh, man, cool. DJ Red Alert. Tone, your final question?
Oh, man, just more of a commentary. Just salute Red Alert. It's good sitting down and talking with you again. You're always a fountain of knowledge. I know the OGs have the highest amount of respect for you. I know when you sat down with Grandmaster Kaz and Shah, they were so excited to be able to finally sit down and talk with you because of the amount of experience you bring to an interview. And it's like they didn't want to stop talking to you. And I feel like we could just keep picking your brain about different facets of the music industry and radio. And, you seem to know everything. You're so sharp with everything. So with that being said, I just salute you and thank you for joining us here on the Inphamus Hour.
Well, no matter what, how long you've been around, you still keep learning, and you can go ahead and have a voice to tell the next set. That's what you do.
Most definitely. Special thank you to my guest, Cool DJ Red Alert on the Inphamus Hour. Make sure you watch us Thursdays night, Boom Bap Nation, Facebook. Shout out to the listeners on SiriusXM Shade 45. And, of course, iHeartRadio for all the audio. Till next time, stay safe, say COVID-19. See you later.
Respect, y'all.
No doubt. Red, before you get out of here,